Today, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 worst injuries I've had in my 20 years of skimboarding. Be sure to watch till the end where I speak about my scariest and most traumatic experience I've had on my skimboard. The first story starts in California, the epicenter of skimboarding. Since I started skimboarding, I always wanted to go to California, to Laguna Beach, the Wedge, all the incredible fountains and water features they have there. It had been a dream of mine to go there. So I finally decided to make the move. So the very first day we arrived in Los Angeles, I wanted to hit this one spot I saw a skateboarder do on Instagram. It's basically like a giant pyramid in the middle of a roundabout that has water that shoots on top and then goes down. So I thought I could go there and then kind of like bring my skimboard twist to this spot. So we arrived there. I was super jet lagged. I ran up, I got to the very top, and as soon as I got there, people in their cars were just honking like, yeah, send it, go. And it really like pushed me to send it down that thing. So the first drop, I figured it out. I was like, okay, I can do this. So I kind of tried it once, I tried it twice, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna fully commit, I'm gonna send it super hard. So I ran back up full of confidence. Again, the cars on the roundabout, they were honking, they were like, yeah, send it. So I was just there like, okay, let's go, no fear. So I dropped in, I landed in the water, it sends me flying forward straight into the curb on my ribs. So that was like chest/ribs, bam, smashed it right into the curb. I was there in the water. I had this moment of like, I didn't feel any pain. I was just like frozen. I was like, oh my God, did this just happen? I just felt the impact, but it was so much adrenaline was flowing. So I quickly got out of the fountain and I ran to my videographer. I didn't feel any pain yet, so we walked a little bit. Did I just break my ribs on my very first day on this huge trip I had planned for like 2 months? I didn't go to the emergency room. I called a doctor friend of mine and I was explaining my symptoms. Turns out nothing was broken, it was just bruised, but the moment was very scary and it almost ruined my trip in the United States. Next up just happened a few weeks after this incident. So this was actually a very special moment for me. I was able to skimboard in the Berrics. If you guys are not so familiar with the skateboarding world, the Berrics doesn't exist anymore, but it used to be a skate park, an indoor skate park. That is very exclusive and only the best skateboarders in the world are invited there. So it's kind of like a proving ground for pro and upcoming skateboarders. And if you're invited there, you're kind of made it in skateboarding. And they flooded the entire skate park for me. It was a huge privilege. And for me, I was so honored to be there. So I went with my friend Blair Conklin and my videographer and a couple other people. And we started skimming. It was all flooded. We brought tarps. We were skimboarding on all the obstacles everywhere, quarter pipes. It was really dangerous, but everything was fine up until now. Only good laughs, good skim, and a lot of fun. Until I tried something I probably shouldn't have tried. So there's this big stair set, and they set up this kind of like circular bank at the bottom of the stair set where you could like jump into in transition for the skateboarders. But note that now that we put water all over the skate park, it was incredibly slippery. Super slippery. I was so excited to be in firstly California and then the Berrics. I got to skimboard there. It was all flooded, so much energy, and I wasn't thinking so much. So I decided, without telling anyone, just out of the blue, just grab my board and acid drop into this bank, which was very sketchy. So I did that, I didn't land properly, and I fell backwards and boom, hit my head. I hit the back of my head on the ground. I wasn't wearing a helmet. I probably should have worn a helmet. I should have probably not jumped down that thing because it was very slippery. Also, if I would have landed it, I would have went straight into a pole, which maybe could have been a worse injury. So maybe it's best that I did fall on my head at that moment. But luckily, nothing too serious. But now I'm a little bit more cautious on when I skim, and if I really feel like I'm hitting a spot, I would probably use a helmet because I don't want to do that again. But then the next one is what really ended my trip in California. So third time's the charm, I guess. This is the one that had me have to fly straight home and finish my trip in California. So after my videographer left, I decided to stay in Laguna Beach with Blair Conklin to practice skimboarding on waves, to spend 2 months just locking in wave skimboarding, going to the wedge, going to Laguna Beach, have a lot of fun on the waves. That was my plan. So a week in from my little wave skin retreat, we were skimboarding this kind of like rock thing. It was very high tide at Aliso Beach, so there was this like rock with water on top, and we were having fun sliding on the rocks, jumping down into the water. It was not a very crazy spot. It was like a 1 meter drop. So at one point I went up, I went running, I jumped on my board, I slid, and at the very edge, my board got stuck and it sent me flying, and I fell straight on my shoulder. And as soon as I fell, I thought, okay, this is wrong. Like I felt like a huge like on my left shoulder. I got out of the water. First, Blair was laughing. He thought I was like, I don't know, not really hurt, but I really was hurt. So I ran up to the car, and it wasn't getting any better. So they took me to the emergency room. I got the x-ray, and turns out it wasn't broken, it wasn't dislocated, but I had an AC separation on my left shoulder. So now I have a bone sticking out of my shoulder forever. I spent a few more days in Laguna just to recover before I could take my flight back home, because of course I couldn't skim anymore. And I will never forget this. I was staying at Blair Conklin's house, and he had one bed, his bed, and a couch, and I was originally sleeping on the couch. But after I hurt my shoulder, he let me sleep in his bed, and he slept in the couch. So I am forever grateful. Blair Conklin, I absolutely love you. The next one dates back 10 years before all of this. So this was Boat Dusseldorf. This is an event that happens every year. There's an inflatable skimboard pool. They have ramps. It's a great place for learning different tricks and riding obstacles. This was a time where I was very focused on learning new tricks on a skimboard, riding ramps, and doing more flatland-based competitions. And actually, I'm saying this story because this injury shaped the way I skimboard today. Bear with me, I'm gonna explain why that is. So this was a time when a lot of people were doing kick flips, varial flips, all sorts of flip variations on their skimboards. I wanted to do these tricks as well. So what better place to learn it than Boat Dusseldorf? So I went on a run on like a ramp that was like up, flat kicker. I went for a board slide kickflip. So I got in the air, I kicked the kickflip, the board was rotating under me, and I landed wrong, and my shin went straight on the edge of the board that planted into the ground. And this exploded my shin. I got like a splatter where I could see the tendon and the bone, and there was blood gushing everywhere right in the middle of this hole. And I just looked down at my leg. Everyone looked at me. We were all like, oh my God. And yeah, they called an ambulance. I went straight to the hospital. I had a little bit of superficial nerve damage on my shin. I had to get stitches. Reshaped the way I skimboard, because after that moment, I kind of got afraid of doing kickflips. I didn't want to get this to happen again. And for me, I try to always be very controlled in what I do. Sometimes I like to take risks. I like to do things that are dangerous on my skimboard, of course, but I like to do it in a way where I feel like I'm always a little bit in control. But then when I was doing kickflips and varial flips, I always felt completely out of control, and it always felt like luck. I'm kicking the board and I'm just hoping for the best. Unfortunately, I don't have any videos from that particular trick, but 10 years later, I was in Taiwan on a trampoline, super random. I hadn't tried a kickflip all this time, and I was on a trampoline just jumping on my skimboard, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna try to make the board kickflip. And the freak accident that happened is I jumped, I did the kickflip, the board turned around vertical, went on the trampoline and bounced straight back up on my chin. And my chin, same thing, open, blood, I got stitches. I really felt like I was cursed on the kickflip. I got my shin and then my chin. But I'm saying it right now, one day before I stop skimboarding, I'm gonna land a kickflip on a skimboard. That is one of my all-time skimboard goals, and I cannot stop this until I land it. It might not be this year, it might not be next year, but one day, promise you, I'm gonna land the kickflip. Now, we're moving on to my very worst injury. The one that was the most traumatic, the one that was the most scary. It was such a weird moment. I was in the Netherlands in December, and there was a huge rainstorm. Everything was flooding, it was crazy. It was also super cold, it was like 0 degrees. I had planned to go to a particular park that was very flooded because they had all sorts of playground obstacles that I could potentially skimboard on. And I had agreed to go there at a certain time with my friend. So he would skimboard with me, film with me, all the good stuff. I arrived about an hour early, so I was alone there. I had my tripod, all my stuff, and since I was early, it was raining so hard, I didn't have a wetsuit, I was freezing cold, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start skimming, film myself, and my friend will eventually come. Note, I also parked my car about a kilometer outside the park. There was no one there. So I started skimming, I was riding these park obstacles, and then there was this one obstacle which was kind of like this pyramid setup I wanted to hit. So I was hitting it like slow, and then I was like, okay, I'm really gonna try to go super fast so I can go all the way up the thing and then slide back down. There was a little puddle right in front of the place I had to jump on, very small, so I didn't have much time to set up, and if I fell, I would fall straight into the obstacle, which isn't always a problem. But this one attempt, I went running full speed, I messed up my drop, and I fell straight into the obstacle. First thing that touched on impact was my knee into a sharp metal pole that was like protruding out of the sand a little bit, and that's the thing I was sliding on, and I went knee first into the sharp part, and that absolutely exploded my knee. Like, it was completely open. It was like I could see everything in my knee was open, and I was alone in the middle of this park with my tripod, my camera, my bag, my other bag. It was freezing cold, 0 degrees, and I just freaked out. At this moment, I don't feel the pain. I'm like rushing on adrenaline. I don't know how bad my knee is. So what I have to do right now, maybe it wasn't the smartest option, but I took all my stuff, my skimboard, I had my camera and my tripod, and I was just sprinting through the park back to my car. And there was blood everywhere. Blood was just dripping down. My entire leg was completely red, and it went like splashing. So it was also on my shirt and on my other leg. It was just a true crime scene. The craziest part is that there was this random woman in the park walking her dog, and she was about like 20 meters away from me, and I was calling for her. I was like, oh, help, 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 help. She just ran away. She turned around and ran away. But I mean, I kind of get her. She saw a guy in board shorts and a t-shirt completely wet with a tripod and a skimboard. So I kept running. I eventually reached my car. There was someone else by the cars, and he called the ambulance. The ambulance came. They took me to the hospital, and again, like stitches, they checked here. I had also some nerve, but again, superficial nerve damage, and got my stitches, everything cleaned up. It was fine. I still have like a big cut on my knee, and now when I touch my knee, I don't feel anything. Knock on wood, I never broke a bone. I never had something super crazy. And I think it's important to always know to do your best to progress, get better at something, but always know your limits. Know when you're taking it too far, and you can always try to prevent injuries from working out, eating good, taking the right measures, using protective gear. Thank you so much for watching. I hope all of you stay safe on your skimboard. Don't get hurt. Let me know if you like this style of video, if you want me to share any more stories, because I have so many more stories. Push yourself a little bit, get a little hurt, but not too hurt. That sucks.